Hi, I'm Steel22, you can call me Steel, and welcome to my full completion and exploration guide for Act 6, Chapter 1, Quest 2, Worlds of Potential, the second video in a series of 24 guides for Act 6. In this video, I'll be showing you how to work through every single path in this quest, as well as how to counter the global nodes, special delivery and combo party, as well as the boss Ultron. To make this guide easier for you to navigate, I've attached timestamps in the description below, as well as a link to my introductory video where I explain how these guides work. First, let's look at both globals, starting with Combo Party. For every 10 hits on their combo meter, the attacker gains a permanent cruelty buff, granting 500 crit damage rating. When struck, the attacker loses all cruelty buffs if their combo meter is lost, and takes 40% of the defender's attack as direct damage for each cruelty buff removed this way. This global is for the most part very beneficial to you, since it provides a solid boost to your damage on critical hits. Be aware that it will be a hindrance on certain paths and fights in this quest. The second and more important global is Special Delivery. The attacker begins the fight with 15 combo charges. Each landed basic attack decreases the combo charges by 1, and launching a special attack will reset the charges. If all charges are removed, they are reset, and the attacker suffers a passive degen equal to 100% of the defender's attack rating over 4 seconds. Let's look at how to counter this. This global is much more forgiving than No Retreat, since you have much more control over when you degenerate. This means that almost every champ works fine for this global, but there are a few exceptions. Be careful using champs with more than 5 hit combos. They'll still work fine for Special Delivery, however, you'll need to be more cautious about how many combo charges you have, since you'll reach 0 before champs with 5 hit combos. It will also mean you have to exclusively use your Special 1, and you'll very rarely reach the Special 2. The other group of champions that are not very effective in this quest are champions that rely heavily on Special 3s to access important pieces of their kit without some form of power gain, since you won't be able to get to a Special 3 within 15 hits easily. There is one small trick you can also incorporate to make your life easier in this quest. By throwing a special attack immediately upon reaching 0 special delivery charges, you can refresh all 15 charges without taking any degeneration damage. This allows you to gain more power between special attacks. However, be careful, because even a tiny delay will activate the degeneration. Now let's look at the layout of the map. This quest has 10 paths, 5 on the left side and 5 on the right. Before each path, you'll need to fight one of either Black Widow, Captain America, or Spider-Man. These 3 fights are extremely basic, with only around 40,000 health, and they only have the global node. They are a great spot for picking up an easy charge or 2 for Corvus Glaive. Each path also has a common node that is unavoidable, and it will affect the makeup of your teams. Now let's look at each individual path, starting with Path A, which you can find on the left hand side after fighting Black Widow, starting with Agent Venom and ending with Taskmaster. All of the fights on this path have Aggression Fury, so you'll want to bring champs that can hit the opponent regularly enough to prevent them from gaining passive Fury charges. Anyone works against this Agent Venom, but you can bring a Tenacity counter to make it even easier for yourself. Similar to Agent Venom, anyone works for this Moon Knight. Just remember to not let his passive Furies build up, and be aware that his bleeds will last for twice as long if they do land. Kingpin has Particle Protector, which means 35% of your hits will glance, so be prepared for a longer fight. Similar to Agent Venom, a Tenacity counter is preferred here, but it isn't necessary. This is the fight on this path that you'll need to prepare for the most, since parrying Black Panther will inflict 3 bleeds on you. They'll only deal 10% of his attack, but I'd still recommend bringing someone who can handle bleed, either through an immunity or resistance. Be aware when fighting Taskmaster that if his exploit target is a special attack, then all of his special attacks will be unblockable. So be careful when you throw your special attacks if you're not comfortable in evading his special attacks. Congratulations, you've beaten Path A. Now for Path B, which you can also find on the left hand side after fighting Black Widow, starting with Spider-Man Miles Morales and ending with Void. All of the fights on this path have masochism, so be prepared to use champions that can easily outdamage the masochism healing, and be prepared to use the reparry technique a lot. Alternatively, use champs with a strong ability accuracy reduction or anti-tenacity. This Spider-Man here can be taken down with anyone if you hit him while stunned, or use a strong evade counter for an easier time. Be very careful of the team building exercise node in this fight. Every time Hulk gets a smash attack, which he gets from the yellow fist icon, it has a 50% chance to be unblockable, so be sure to evade his attack when he gets that icon. This means do not push him to 100 crowd excitement, as that will significantly increase the rate at which he gets smash attacks. Your best electro counter will work here just fine. However, be aware that he has strike back. So if you're uncomfortable avoiding his special 2, throw your special attacks when he has less than a bar of power, so that he doesn't reach 2 bars. This Captain America is nothing particularly difficult. As long as you can manage the global nodes and masochism, you can get through him with anyone. This Void has Mighty Charge, so avoid champs that rely on debuffs, since Void will purify all debuffs when he dashes forward. Use the reparry technique to safely get your openings, Ghost being a top option since she can use her phase to get around Mighty Charge. Remember that slow champs won't work here since Void can shrug that off from the Mighty Charge purification. Congratulations, you've beaten Path B. Now let's look at Path C, which is the easy path that I'd recommend for completion. You can find it on the left hand side after fighting Captain America, starting with Punches 2099 and ending with Darkenheart Spider-Man. The path node is power drain, meaning all of your power will be drained if you get hit by a special attack, so anyone works for it. Be careful not to hit into Punish's block too much, since a 5th hit into block will remove 25% of your health due to explosive personality. Ultron has aspect of evolution, so make sure to bring someone that can get him down quickly enough so that he doesn't get too powerful from the node. Remember not to use champs with energy attacks, since he'll regen a lot of that damage back. Anyone works for Nebula. Using a regen counter can make it quicker, but it's far from necessary, provided you can easily outdamage the regen. Vulture has Oscillate, so be prepared for a very aggressive AI while he has the passive Fury, and a very defensive AI while he has the passive Armor. As long as you can manage this and the global node, anyone works for him. If you throw a special attack against Spider-Man while he has his Stark AI active, he'll gain a bar of power. So to make it easier, use a Cosmic Champ or Heavy Attack to easily shut down his Stark AI. If you're not using a Cosmic Champ, just be aware of the power that he will get from your special attacks while his AI is active. Congratulations, you've beaten Path C. Now for Path D, which you can also find on the left side after fighting Captain America, starting with Rogue and ending with Iceman. Each fight on this path has aggression regeneration. So similar to path A, remember to hit the opponent regularly to prevent the build-up of passives. Using strong heal block champions like Warlock and Mysterio gives you more flexibility. Rogue can be taken with anyone, just remember her 70% reduced duration on debuffs. Omega Red has Bloodletting, doubling the duration of his bleed effects. Since he has no bleed effects, this node is completely irrelevant. I'd recommend bringing a robot if you can, since that will significantly reduce the rate at which you'll gain spores, meaning you can keep aggression regeneration at bay much easier. If you can't bring a robot, try to bring a strong regen counter. Bishop starts this fight with 2 prowess charges and 8% of his max power. So, just like any other bishop, remember to not use champs with energy damage, because that will feed his power meter. As long as you can bring someone without energy damage, you only have the global to manage. The combo party node will give you a permanent cruelty buff. This means once you reach a combo of 10 or more hits, Magneto will consistently generate a stream of passive power gain. I'd recommend using a non-metal champ that can tank his special 3, such as Luke Cage or Iceman, or someone like Human Torch that can burst him down very quickly. The Debilitate node means Iceman's initial cold snap will last twice as long, so definitely bring someone that can handle cold snap, or you'll hit a massive roadblock here. As long as you use a strong Iceman counter, you just have the global to worry about, as well as his ice armor. Congratulations, you've beaten path D. Now for path E, which can be found on the left hand side after fighting Spider-Man, starting with Juggernaut and ending with Dormammu. The path node here is Spite, which will be permanently active after you reach 10 hits from the combo party global. I'd recommend bringing a strong nullify or slow champ for this Juggernaut to limit the amount of time that he's unstoppable. Don't use parry heavy champs, since he has a 20% limber. A strong power control champion works great for this M.O.D.O.K. However, don't give in to the temptation of hitting into his block, since 5 hits into block will take 25% of your health through explosive personality. Be very careful during this fight, since if you reach a combo of 10 hits during his Strathom's Cunning phase, while you have a stagger, the cruelty buff will be instantly nullified and you'll take direct damage. Also, the Pilfer node will mean any champ with easy access to buffs is very susceptible to even more direct damage. Mephisto has a 50% aspect of nightmares, so make sure to enter this fight with at least 50% health, otherwise you'll very quickly die. Use the special 2 bias node to your advantage by baiting special 2s while Spite is active. Use an Incinerate immune champ to make your life easier here, or someone that can limit his passive power gain. Dormammu also has special 2 bias, but it is also enhanced, meaning the first hit is unblockable. So be very careful if you're forced to bait out the special 2. I'd recommend using a strong power control champ here, to limit the amount of special 2s he throws, or someone with strong block proficiency to safely block multiple special 2s, should you need to. Congratulations, you've beaten Path E. Now for Path F, which you can find on the right side after fighting Spider-Man, starting with Hela and ending with Hyperion. This path has feats of power, meaning the opponent will gain a fury buff when they reach 1 bar of power, and a precision buff when the opponent reaches 2 bars of power. This node is very important for this fight, since every time Hela gains a fury buff, she goes passively unstoppable for 5 seconds. She also gains a fury buff once every 30 seconds, and whenever she throws a special 1. I'd recommend using a strong nullify or slow champ for this fight to make it easier, although it is possible without one. Since Heimdall has cornered, you won't be able to use champs with damage over time debuffs, as that will give him triple power gain. As long as you can bring someone that doesn't apply damage over time, you'll get through him without much trouble, remembering to only bait the special 1. Anyone works for this Medusa, just remember to be careful of her auto block. You can use a nullify or true strike champ to make this fight easier if you want to. Also be mindful of the transducer node, which will increase the combat power gain that you get, but you will slowly drain power over time. Remember when pushing King Groot over 1 bar of power, that he'll gain a fury buff, meaning he'll be able to shrug the next debuff you apply to him, including parries. Be careful when you bait his special 1, since it's fully unblockable. Hyperion has Aspect of Evolution, which means all of his base stats will increase every time he fills a bar of power. So I'd recommend bringing someone that can really lock down his power gain, so that Aspect of Evolution doesn't have too much of an effect. Congratulations, you've beaten Path F. Now Path G, which can be found on the right side after fighting Captain America, starting with Domino and ending with Emma Frost. The Path node is backup recovery, meaning all champs will gain a burst of 30% power when they reach 50% health, or they'll gain 25% health if you've reduced their ability accuracy. You can use ability accuracy reduction champs if you want, but it's far from necessary. Domino also has the strike back node, so be careful when you throw your special attacks. But you can use this node to your advantage by using it to push her to the safer special 2. I'd recommend bringing someone who can really get this guy down quickly, since every time he throws a special attack, he increases his combat power rate by 15% for the rest of the fight. Note that this will not affect the backup recovery power gain, since that is passive power rather than combat power. Nightcrawler has Mesmerize, meaning whenever he evades, you'll be stunned for 1 second. So it's imperative that you bring a strong evade counter, or only hit him when he's stunned so that he can't evade. This can be a very problematic fight if you let Archangel go completely unblockable, because his special 1 is very tricky to completely evade. I'd recommend using someone with strong DPS to get him down quickly. A slow champ is also handy here to prevent him from going unstoppable after launching special attacks. You can use the kinetic reactor node to your advantage by taking hits in the block to easily push her into telepath form. If you adopt this strategy, remember to use someone with decently high block proficiency. You can also use a strong armor break champ to make the fight easier, but it's not essential. Congratulations, you've beaten Path G. Now Path H, which can be found on the right side after fighting Captain America, starting with Green Goblin and ending with Iron Man Infinity War. The Path node is aggression armor, which won't be a big factor until the final fight. Anyone works for this Green Goblin, but just be aware that if he hits you when you have a buff, then he has a small chance to lifesteal. Iron Patriot has brute force, meaning you need to hit him every 6 seconds to avoid direct damage. As long as you hit him regularly enough, anyone works for this fight too. Explosive personality gives Red Skull armor buffs whenever you hit into his block, which you shouldn't be doing anyway, since that will power drain and damage you. Strong damage over time champs or strong armor break champs will help you to bypass his strong armor. You just need to be aware of Yondu's special 1 in this fight, since the first hit is unblockable. As long as you can safely evade that, and don't push him to his special 2, he'll go down easily. This fight might look simple on the surface, but when Iron Man reaches 15% health, it can cause a big roadblock if you're not prepared, since he'll constantly be gaining passive armor from aggression armor, which contributes to his passive power gain. To counter this, use someone with very easy access to armor break, such as Corvus Glaive or Captain Marvel movie, or champions that can bypass his auto block, such as Magneto or Ghost. Another option is to use very strong damage over time champs, not bleed champs, that can melt his last 15%. Congratulations, you've beaten Path H. Now for Path I, which is found on the right side after fighting Black Widow, starting with Yellowjacket and ending with M.O.D.O.K. The path node is bubble shield, so you'll need to be mindful of how many blocked hits you take on this path, since the damage will add up. Once you reach 10 bubble shield icons, the next attack from the opponent is guaranteed to be unblockable. The only other thing to be aware of in this fight is Yellowjacket's special 1, since it's fully unblockable. Remember to throw 4 hit combos while he has 1 bar of power so that you can safely dodge it. Also, do not use a Mystic here, since special delivery forces you to throw special attacks, which will mean you'll take unavoidable power sting damage against him. Anyone works for this Hulk, just be aware of bubble shield and the potential health steal he gets below 25% if he hits you from the Optimus node. You can bring a strong evade counter for this fight, however you don't need to, since for the most part it's just a normal wasp. Be mindful of her special 1 since it's unblockable, and never push her to her special 2 since that's unblockable too, and is extremely difficult to completely avoid. Luke Cage has unblockable finale, so I'd recommend having a special attack ready when he has 25% health. This will limit the amount of time in that fight that he's unblockable. Be very careful when fighting this M.O.D.O.K, because he has explosive personality, which activates when he auto-blocks. This means that if he auto-blocks you 5 times, you'll lose 25% of your health. You can use Armor Break or True Strike champs to counter this, or simply hit him while he's stunned to stop him auto-blocking. Remember that heavy attacks can also remove his auto-block charge. Congratulations, you've beaten Path I. Now Path J, which is found on the right side after fighting Black Widow, starting with Thor Ragnarok and ending with Korg. The path node here is Biohazard, which means you have to bring champions for the path that can handle bleed. Thor can cause problems if you don't manage your special attacks well, since you need to throw them to reset special delivery, as well as to prevent his passive power gain. Most biohazard friendly champs can get around this just fine, but try to avoid champs with lots of hits on their special attacks, and champs with more than 5 hit combos. Blade has Pessimist, meaning he starts the fight with the potential to lifesteal above 75% health. Be mindful of his reduced debuff duration the more power he has, and you'll get through him just fine. The Pilfer node means you'll want to avoid using heavily buffed champs in this fight, since each nullifier of the buff will give him 20% power. Similar to Blade, most biohazard friendly champs will work fine here. For the most part, this is just a normal Killmonger. Just be aware that if he somehow intercepts you, he will activate his True Strike. This will significantly increase his attack if his Reverberation is active at the same time. Anti-Thorns chants work exceptionally well here, such as Gambit or Omega Red, or strong armor breakers like Corvus. Alternatively, you can play it slower with anyone and limit how much you hit him during reverb. Be aware that Korg special attacks inflict a 10-second heal block debuff and Fate Seal passive, which limits the effect of buff heavy champs. I'd definitely recommend bringing a strong Korg counter such as Ghost, Omega Red, Apocalypse or Gambit if you're able to. Congratulations, you've beaten Path J. Now let's talk about the common mini-boss in this quest, which is Sentinel. You'll need to fight him after every path and before the boss. He has 5500 attack and over 160,000 health. On top of the global, Sentinel has Arc Overload, allowing him to regenerate 25% of his health every 20 seconds. Biohazard, inflicting us with bleed when we hit him and poison when we hit into his block. Bubble Shield reduces our block proficiency by 6% on every blocked hit. Special attack Heal Block, inflicting us with a Heal Block and passive Fate Seal whenever he throws a special attack. And Prey on the Weak, allowing him to gain 1% of his max power whenever one of our buffs end, including the precision buff from Dexterity. This can be a very tricky fight, even if you do have a good bleed immune or resistant counter. The main problem with this fight in fact lies in Arc Overload as well as Sentinel's natural tankiness. This means you'll need to bring someone that can handle bleed, as well as prevent his regen, or someone that can reach a solid amount of damage per second. Some of the top options for this fight include Aegon, Black Widow Clairvoyant, Corvus Glaive, Cosmic Ghost Rider, Ghost, Guillotine 2099, Quake, Sentinel, Warlock, and especially Magneto. There are plenty of other options apart from the ones I mentioned, but those are the go-tos. Now let's talk about the final boss in this quest, which is Ultron. He has over 9,000 attack and just shy of 300,000 hit points. On top of the globals, he has aggression armor, which allows him to gain passive stacks of armor for as long as you don't hit him. Spry places a strong fatigue debuff on you whenever he evades, significantly reducing your critical rate. EMP mod places passive shock effects on you whenever he throws special attacks, according to how many buffs you gained. Backup recovery gives him 30% power when he reaches 50% health, or 25% health if you reduce his ability accuracy, and Spike gives him constant passive power gain when you have a buff, which you'll have a lot in this fight due to Combo Party. So let's discuss the counters. By using champs that are fully shock immune, you can completely ignore the EMP mod node, which is a big pain point in this fight. Note that champs with shock resistance, such as Magneto and Corvus Glaive, will still take damage from the node, since they are only resistant to shock debuffs. Another big challenge in this fight is Ultron's power gain. Because once you reach a combo of 10 or more hits, you'll always have a cruelty buff on you, which permanently activates Spite. Using champs like Dr. Octopus and Dr. Doom can help counter this by limiting the amount of specials he can throw. You can also use champs with strong Petrify debuffs, such as Mr. Fantastic, Captain America Infinity War, or Void. Still be aware of Ultron's evade, since he has a guaranteed chance to evade every 7 seconds, and it can catch you if you're not expecting it. Another way to get around this fight is to use champions with the potential to completely shut down Ultron's ability accuracy. This can be achieved in a number of ways. For example, Nebula's shock charges, or armor shattering with Vision Arcus or Medusa, completely severing him of any power gain. While you will need to activate buffs before getting the armor shattered, it is very possible to get there before you take too much EMP mod damage. Magneto, while a buff heavy champ, is also a very solid option for this fight, due to his ability accuracy reduction against metal champs, and his strong perfect block chance should you need to bait many special 2s. You do have the option to remove the Dexterity Mastery for this fight, and you can do this to prevent unnecessary amounts of passive shock charges from activating. However, I'd suggest simply parrying his special attacks, and completely avoiding using the Dexterity Mastery at all in this fight, unless you absolutely have to. Using champs with a playstyle that involves no buffs at all can help to limit how much damage you can take from EMP mod, such as Red Guardian, Quake, and She-Hulk. Remember, if you have any questions about anything discussed in this video, please leave a comment or join my Discord to talk to me directly. I hope this guide helped make your journey through this quest easier, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video where we dive into Act 6, Chapter 1, Quest 3. I'll see you then.